You've been told Jesus came to save you from sin. But what if that was never the full story, and the part that was cut out changes everything about who you are and what this world actually is? There is a document. It was buried in the Egyptian desert sometime in the 4th century. It was found in 1945, sealed inside a clay jar near a cliff called Jabal al-Tarif, in a region the ancient world called the Thebaid. Among the 52 texts recovered that day was one of the most radical cosmological teachings ever attributed to Jesus. The Apocryphon of John, preserved in Nag Hammadi Codex Seu, and in it, Jesus does not talk about sin. He talks about architects. He calls them Archons. The word itself is Greek. It means rulers, governors, those who hold power over others. In the Apocryphon of John, Jesus appears to his disciple after the resurrection and lays out a vision of creation that the canonical Gospels never touch. He describes a cosmic hierarchy, a layered prison of invisible intelligences, each one governing a sphere of the material world, each one keeping human souls locked inside a cycle they were never meant to inhabit. This is not metaphor. Within the Scythian tradition, the school of thought that produced the Apocryphon of John, the Archons are presented as literal cosmic forces born from a catastrophic event in the divine realm. The text traces their origin to Sophia, the lowest emanation of the Pleroma, the divine fullness, who attempted to create without her divine counterpart. What emerged from that act was not a world of light. It was the Demiurge, called Yaldabaoth, and from him came the Archons, 7 planetary rulers who shaped the material cosmos in ignorance and then sealed humanity inside it. So what exactly did Jesus say about them? In the Apocryphon of John, Nag Hammadi Codex Second, chapters 15 through 19, the risen Christ describes how the Archons fashioned the human body as a vessel to trap the divine spark, the pneuma, the luminous fragment of the true God that had accidentally been breathed into their creation. They did not want humanity to remember where it came from. They built forgetfulness into the architecture of the world. In the text, the Archons say directly, "Let us create a human being after the image of God and after our own likeness, so that this image may serve us." Read that again. They are not creating out of love. They are creating out of strategy. The chief Archon, Yaldabaoth, is described in the text as boastful and ignorant. He proclaims, "I am a jealous God, and there is no other God beside me," not knowing that the true divine light exists far above him. Scholars of early Christianity, including Elaine Pagels in the Gnostic Gospels and Hans Jonas in the Gnostic religion, have noted that this is a direct and deliberate inversion of the God of the Hebrew Scriptures. The Scythian Gnostics were not reading the Old Testament as a story of divine love. They were reading it as a confession of the Demiurge's ignorance. Now here is the detail that most people never hear. In the same text, after describing the Archons and their system of control, Jesus tells John how escape is possible. Not through obedience, not through ritual, not through priestly mediation, through Gnosis, direct interior knowledge of one's own divine origin. The Apocryphon of John states that those who receive this knowledge will not be dragged back into the cycle of rebirth that the Archons use to recycle human souls. The mechanism of entrapment described in the text is precise. The Archons, at death, insert false memories of pleasure and pain into the soul to make it cling to matter and return to a new body. Ignorance in this system is not a moral failure. It is a cosmological trap, and Gnosis is the door out. But there is a tension in the tradition that even many students of Gnosticism overlook. The Valentinian school, founded by Valentinus of Alexandria in the 2nd century, and documented by both Irenaeus de Lyon in Adversus Haereses and by the Nag Hammadi text, known as the Gospel of Truth, held a softer view of the Demiurge. For Valentinus, the creator of the material world was not malicious. He was simply incomplete. Ignorant of the Pleroma, yes, but not an enemy. This distinction matters. Not all Gnostic teachers agreed on how much the Archons hated you. Some believed this world was a mistake. Others believed it was a cage. The difference shapes everything about how a seeker should live inside it. What the Apocryphon of John and the Valentinian texts share, however, is this. The human being is not what the dominant religious narrative says it is. You are not a creature made from dust and saved by grace from above. You are a fragment of light that fell into a world that was built, at least in part, to keep you distracted from that fact. That feeling you have, that this cannot be all there is, that the explanations you were given do not reach deep enough, that something essential about you was never named by the institution, the creed, or the doctrine. The Gnostic tradition does not dismiss that feeling. It treats it as evidence. It calls it the beginning of Gnosis. The ancient texts were buried, yes. Some were burned. Many of the people who carried them were killed. But the spark they were trying to describe, that the Archons could never touch. If this opens something in you that has been waiting a long time to open, share it with someone who is still looking. Like it if you want more of what the buried texts actually say. And subscribe, because what comes next goes even deeper.